Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you all to today's Advisicon Academy training. My name is Mina Inquist and I'm a marketing assistant here at Advisicon. We are a group of authors, teachers, consultants, and technologists offering training in Microsoft technologies and project management and methodology. With attending any of our training sessions, we offer PDUs as we are a registered education provider with the Project Management Institute. At the close of today's session, I will give you some instructions on how to claim your PDUs and how to contact Advisicon for any questions you may have. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few things so you know how to participate in today's event. Please review the control panel that should be on the top right of your screen. The audience is muted during the session, so in order to ask questions, you will need to submit them in the questions window of the control panel. This webinar will be recorded and uploaded on the Advisicon YouTube channel for those who could not attend today's session live. Please note that any questions or comments submitted will not display in the recording, nor will any of your personal information be shared. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's instructor, Michael Rimmer, who is one of our project advisors and who I will now hand this presentation over to. Michael, you're muted.
Hey, thank you, Mina. Hi, everybody. Like she said, my name is Michael Rimmer. I'm a project advisor here at Advisicon. I'm a Microsoft certified professional, experienced trainer, and my passion is working with technology and people. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with you about Outlook best practices and getting the most from your calendar. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about upcoming new features, and then I'm going to dive right into a demo so we can cover as much material as possible. After that, we'll have a little bit of time for some Q&A. So what are new features that are coming? Well, if you haven't noticed already, and if you are using the Outlook for Office 365 version, then you will see improvement in shared calendars. There are consistent permission options now when sharing a calendar, which is great. A new easy way to accept shared calendar invitations. If you are familiar with receiving a shared calendar invitation, it's kind of clunky, old. It's set as an attachment. You have to go up and you have to click this accept button. It looks really outdated. And then the last thing about this shared calendar improvement is that shared calendars will now be syncing to all of your devices and with changes that appear right away, instantaneous sync. Don't have to wait for any kind of Outlook automated refresh. It's great new. And this is currently rolling out right now. The next thing I want to talk about real quick, which is also in the process of rolling out to all Outlook 365 users, is getting suggestions for calendar meeting and appointment locations. So you need to start typing, you need a new location or venue for your meeting. You start typing a meeting room that you're familiar with, boom, Outlook will automatically autofill that for you. You can just select the one that comes up. This is pretty nifty. I want to talk a little bit about a couple new features that are coming at the start of next year. We have the advanced room finder with filters. Now, Microsoft is redoing their existing room finder add-in with this new advanced room browse, and this will function with a similar function that you are used to with Outlook on the web for using that, which I think is a great time for Microsoft to be changing that. The last thing I want to talk about is a little bit technical, but the calendar sync protocol is transitioning to a REST API. So the new sync protocol will make your RSVP responses to meetings visible in the tracking status for organizers and attendees, even if you choose to not send a response. This transition to REST API will also affect the details of past events of reoccurring meetings, ensuring that the reoccurring meetings in the past will not change if the end date of the series is updated. This is great for if you've ever gone in and changed the end date of a reoccurring meeting and it's affected everything that happened in the past, and you're like, oh man, I can't get that information now. After this update rolls out, that won't happen again. So let's talk a little bit about Outlook calendar best practices. I'm going to dive right into the demo. So let me exit out of PowerPoint here and pull up Microsoft Outlook. And I just have it already pulled to my calendar right now. You can see everything that's going on. Now, I want to start off with Outlook settings. I know it's kind of boring, but sometimes it needs to be done. We're going to go up here in the top left-hand corner and click on File, and then we're going to scroll down to Options. And then I'm going to select the calendar setting right here. Now, there's a lot of different options that you can do in Outlook. It's a pretty complicated tool. I want to quickly cover this very top section, which is work time. Setting your start time and end time, Microsoft defaults it from 8 to 5 with Monday through Friday as your standard work weeks, making sure that you have that in there for your scheduled time is important. That way people aren't scheduling you like 7:30 when you really get in at 8 and you're like, I'm not going to the office 30 minutes early. Or maybe you're like, hey, I do need to go in early and meet this. So anyways, having your start and end time scheduled appropriately is very beneficial, especially for your coworkers who are going to be scheduling meetings for you or with you. The part that I want to get into a little bit deeper here is this calendar options section. So you can change your default duration for new appointments and meetings from 30 minutes to an hour or 1.5 hours. 30 minutes is perfectly fine for me. I'll make the change when I'm actually scheduling the meeting. But this little section right here, end appointments and meetings early. This is a really beneficial time management option that you can use. If you want to wrap up your meetings a little bit early to make sure that you're able to get to the next meeting on time, you have the ability to come in here and select this option and change, meetings that are less than an hour long, let's have them end 5 minutes early, or meetings that are in hours or longer end 10 minutes early. I don't know if you've ever been to shown up in a conference room and then you're waiting for 10 minutes as people keep rolling in. Well, that's probably because they wrapped up their meeting on the dot and then had to walk from wherever they were to where you are now. And, as that comes in, it's like 12:10, 12:05 as the meeting's starting to get started, and then you're missing out on 10 minutes of your meeting. Well, having that set to end early and having that discipline and that practice and also that clear agreed upon understanding for you and your coworkers that, hey, this meeting is scheduled from 1 to 1:55, so that way you can leave early and get to your next meeting on time. Having that consistency is going to help you with your time management. Okay, I'm going to skip over all of this. You can set your default reminders to whatever time you like, and I want to go to this display options section. This is a kind of hidden little setting that not a lot of people know about, or at least I've seen a lot of questions asked about it, which is how do I turn off my calendar from automatically switching to a schedule view after I've selected a certain amount of calendars? This is how you do it. These two options right here are automatically selected for you by default. I go ahead and I turn them off. What this top one means is in this background of this option settings, you can see that I have a vertical view of each day on my calendar. If I was to go over here on the left-hand side and select, let's say, birthdays, holidays, and then these 3 conference rooms and Sarah Davis's calendar, the moment that I select that 5th calendar to view, it's going to change how I see these calendars to a horizontal scheduling view. The scheduling view is a very good tool. It's very helpful, but I want to be in control of when that changes if I need it to. Sometimes I just need to look at 4 calendars side by side and I want to look at it at the same vertical view. And then what comes with that, and this is the part of the reason that I really don't like, is this second option down here is when does it ever switch back? So say you're in that schedule view and you deselect 4 of those calendars, but you still are looking at 2, it's going to keep that same schedule view. And maybe I don't want to look at that. I want to be in control of how I change my views. So I want to go ahead and select these off. And you do have the option of changing the number of oh, hey, I want it to only change it when there's 9 calendars, or change back anytime there's 5 or less. That's fine, you do have that option. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend that you turn both of these off and you be in control of what you see. So I'm gonna go ahead and unselect those. I'm gonna select OK. And I'm coming back down here to my calendar view. So that's the boring part, those settings. I want to talk about sharing and visibility permissions. So how do I share my calendar so that other people can see what's going on in my workday? I'm getting tired of being scheduled at 7:30 in the morning, and I want them to be able to see, oh, hey, I have to prep for my webinar today. I'm not going to have time to meet with you at that time. But say they only can tell if I'm free or busy or not. Well, to change that, what we do is we go up to the home ribbon up here on the top left-hand corner, and then we go to the Manage Calendars grouping, which is the 5th one from the left. We click on Share Calendar. Whoop, that's going to take a little while, and then I'm going to select on the calendar. I have 2 accounts in here, so I'm going to select on the one for Advisicon. It's going to open up the calendar properties under the permissions tab. And for my organization, Microsoft defaults to can view when I'm busy. So if somebody else was looking at my calendar, they would see, oh, hey, he's busy from 8 to 5. He has no free time. If I look here on, say, Friday, they're going to see that I'm busy from 8 to 9 or 8 to 10, and then they're going to see, oh, he's free from 10 to 1, and then busy again from 1 to 2:30. So how do I do that? So to change it, you can go, I highly recommend that you select Can View All Details. We here at Advisicon have everybody selected as Can View All Details within my organization. This allows me to look at anybody within Advisicon's calendar and see what they're working on. This really increases collaboration and teamwork when trying to decide, hey, what's priority, or hey, what needs to get done, or hey, like I need to schedule some time with you. I'm going to check your calendar and find a time that works for both of us. And I can tell because I have a lot more information coming my way through this View All Details button. So I click Apply and click OK. I'll close that. And now everybody can see my calendar. They can see, hey, I'm going to lunch here in 15 minutes or whatever. But let's say I did have something private that I don't want somebody to see. Like I have this doctor appointment down here. I don't put any important information, but maybe I did want to put some details I wanted to not forget. But I really don't want anybody to see that. Well, Microsoft Outlook has this a private appointment button, and you can get there by going to, you can either right click on your appointment and select private, or you can click on your appointment, come up to the appointment ribbon. You can see we'll say calendar tools, which only appears when you click on an appointment, by the way. So if I clicked off, that's not up here on the ribbon. I click on my appointment. I come over to the tags grouping, which is the 5th one from the left, and I'm going to select private. Now, just to give you a little bit of assurance of what do people see when they select private appointment, let me go ahead and show you Sarah Davis. So I'm going to select Sarah Davis here on the left-hand side. It's going to bring up her calendar. And I see that she has a private appointment, and you can tell that it's private with a little lock here. And this is what I see on hers. And if anybody was to look at my calendar right now, they would see the same thing. They would see that it says private appointment. And so, how did I get Sarah Davis's calendar over here on the left-hand side? Well, it's important to note that if you ever want to look at a coworker's calendar, you're going to have to go up here to the Manage Calendars grouping under the Home ribbon again. Except this time, instead of Share Calendar, you're going to select Add Calendar. Now, this Add Calendar function allows you to either add calendar from your advisory Active Directory address book. You can add rooms from the room list, or you can add, a Gmail calendar from the internet if you wanted to, if you have the .ics link. Or you can go to the very bottom, click Open Shared Calendar, and that's going to open the address book and the room list together, and you can select from there. Let's say I wanted Sarah Davis, so I go up here and I click Open from Address Book. You can see all these people. I type in Sarah. I'm going to double click on her name, or you can just single click on her name and click on Calendar down here, and now I will have access to her calendar. Now I have it twice and it's open twice, but that's how you get it to view. If I wanted to add a room, you could do the same thing. Just click on Add Calendar, go to From Room List, look at everything down here. See that we have 4 rooms, and see I highlight them all. Click on Add Rooms, click OK. Boom, now I have them available. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about scheduling an appointment or scheduling a meeting. Well, there's a different couple of ways to do that. I did talk about the scheduling view and how I said that I wanted to be in control of when I change my view. And to change my view, I go up to the home ribbon and I go down to the arranged grouping, and there's this schedule view option here. Now, if you're using Outlook and you're using the simplified ribbon, and I'm going to change mine currently from right-clicking on it and click on Use Simplified, you might not see the arranged grouping, but you will still see the schedule view right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then I'm going to click on my ribbon. I'm going to change it back to the classic ribbon because I like the classic better. And now you can see this horizontal scheduling view that I mentioned earlier. You can see that the calendars listed are on the left-hand side. And these are the calendars that I have selected, Sarah Davis and the 4 different rooms. This scheduling view is very helpful to see and line up when are people free to schedule a meeting. One of the things I really like about this is that I can go ahead and click on the top here and it will select everything and I can easily see. If I click, drag and drop, I can select more than just a half hour's time. And if I double click on this little section up here, it will automatically open a meeting invite. That's great. It's very, very helpful. I do want to talk about scheduling a meeting though, but I want to start from a blank slate. So I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to change my view back to the work week. I'm going to deselect all of these different rooms. And I want to open up a new meeting. So let's say we'll take now's time. I'm going to click on New Meeting from the Home ribbon. And I can just fill out these details here. As you can see, my end time is at 1:25 because it's a 30-minute meeting and I wanted to end 5 minutes early. But I want to show you that the best way to really schedule a new appointment or a new meeting is using the scheduling assistant. And to do that, you go up here on the ribbon, you click on Scheduling Assistant. As you can see, it looks very much like the schedule view. However, I can add, one thing it doesn't show is my categories, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. But I do want to show you how I can add people here as well as rooms. Now, I can go over here on the left-hand side. We see all attendees. I want to add Sarah down here. So I'm going to click and type in Sarah. Bam, I can see her calendar for today's date and all of the dates really if I scroll left or right. Let's say I also wanted to add a room. Let's say upstairs conference room. I can do that. And I can see that there's some availability right now. But let's say I wanted to add more rooms or new attendees. I can go up here to the ribbon under the attendees grouping and see add attendees. But I think I just want a meeting between me and Sarah. So I'm going to click on add rooms. And I do this because I don't really care which room that we meet in. I just want to make sure that we have a room available. So I'm going to select the 3. I already have the upstairs conference room, so I'm going to select these other 3, click on rooms to add them to the room list, click OK. As you can see, they've populated down here on the left-hand side. Now we have these special icons over here too. We can see that I have a chat bubble, which if I hover over, it says Meeting Organizer. And Sarah has a red arrow or a white arrow pointing up with a red background. That just means that she's required. If I click on that, I can change her to be an optional attendee. We can also see that the green house is a resource room or equipment, which makes sense because I added those 4 rooms. I'm going to keep her as required though. So Sarah's required, and I'll tell you why that's important. Because if I want to use the auto pick function, which I'll get to in just a second, I can choose whether I want it to pick something for all attendees or required attendees. How do I use this auto pick function, you ask? I go up here to the top left-hand corner under Scheduling Assistant, and I select auto pick. When I click this, it's going to give me 4 different options. I can have it auto pick the next available time for only the required people. So that would be me and Sarah. So I click next on required. Oh, I see that we have an opening from 12:30 to 1:30, which that's not going to work because that's almost over. I'm going to go ahead and click on auto pick again. I'll click on required people, and then we have a meeting on Friday. Oh, there we go. We have an opening on Friday from 10:30 to 11:30. Well, what if I wanted to add an available room? I can click on auto pick required people and 1 resource, which goes, oh, it picked the next time because auto pick moves it forward, and it's saying 11 to noon. And as you can see over here on the left, it's auto picked upstairs conference room. If I wanted to, you can select auto pick and do all people in 1 resource, which includes required and optional, whereas required people in 1 resource or required people does not care if the optional people are available or not. It will still schedule it that time. Or you can select all people in earlier resources. Well, let's say I went a little bit too far in the head. I want to go back to an earlier time. You click on the earlier time button. It's going to select the previous time available. Well, that's good. I can click send. Wait, I haven't set my meeting information, so I don't want to click send yet. But I do want to go up here to the meeting tab, type in my stuff. I'll do webinar Wednesday review. Make sure that my location will say upstairs conference room. It didn't automatically fill it in, so that's not good. So let me go back to my scheduling assistant. We'll click on downstairs conference room. Go back to meeting. There we go. It's all filled in. We're good to go. I'll go ahead and click on send now that all my information is updated. And we should see it populate here in just a moment. Now that we have this, now that I've scheduled a meeting, one thing I want to talk about is all of these colors on my screen. As you can see, I have different colors for multiple different appointments, and I want to highlight how important it is that your organization has a clear, agreed upon, precise, categorical information that is shared either throughout your organization or at least departmentally. It's important because when you're showing or viewing all details with your coworkers or with your organization, you want to be able to look at a glance, when is somebody available? For me, for example, I have yellow as out of office. Well, let's say if I look at Sarah Davis's calendar, she has yellow down here. If I just assume that means that she's out of office because we have different colors that are associated to different meanings, that's not very helpful for me. Or really for her. She's like, oh, what is Michael doing having a private appointment where, listen, he submit status updates and a timesheet. Why is he updating his timesheet for 3 hours on Wednesday? You know, well, no, I use yellow for out of office and vacation time where she uses yellow for timesheets. This is really important. Here at Advisicon, we use a standardized color format. We use dark red, which you see here, professional services stand-up meeting. For do not disturb, we use purple for all billable work, which we know as a company, if somebody has purple on their calendar, do not ever book time over that. We also have green, dark green for sales. Sales are typically movable stuff. We like either follow up on a sales call or something, or an email. Typically we know like, hey, if something is dark green, I can maybe schedule a meeting over that, or at least request that time for them. So it's important that we are clear and concise and have agreed upon categorical colors to help in the communication that we have with our coworkers. Let me talk real quick before we run out of time here, how to set category colors. So you can do this a couple of different ways, but if I go ahead and right click on any appointment or meeting, I have this little option here to categorize. If I select categorize, I can see everything that I've already created But let's say I wanted to create a new one. So if I click on all categories, we can see that this is selecting for the current webinar prep that I have selected. But anything that I create here is going to, excuse me, is going to update for my entire calendar. So let's say I want to create a new one. So I click on new and I type in free lunches. Oops, there we go. Free lunch. And I want to make the color, we'll make it a black with a shortcut key of Control F4. So that way it makes it super easy for me. Click OK. And I'm not going to select it for my webinar prep right now, but I do now have this option to categorize free lunch for any of my appointments. Like I said, it'd be most helpful to have agreed upon categorical settings for your entire department at least, or at least your entire organization, so everybody can see that. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And now if I right click on something, let's say I click on this one, categorize free lunch, boom, I know that this one at a glance means that I'm having lunch for free. Okay, now it looks like we're running out of time, so I do want to go back to our PowerPoint and make sure that we are able to answer any questions that come up. So Mina, do we have any questions at this time?
Not currently.
Okay, well, great. Thank you everybody for your assistance and for listening to me. And I'm gonna turn this over to Mina.
Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. We welcome your questions and feedback. For more information, you can email us at contact@advisicon.com. Once you exit today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation. You will need to complete and submit the survey to receive your PDUs. From there, you will receive a follow-up email within 2 business days with your PDU information. On behalf of Advisicon, Michael, and myself, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you participate in future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.